What's up, y'all? It's another episode of the Groove Files. I got Donovan here with me,
Yo,
and today we're going to discuss Childish Gambino and his career up to this point. So, the first thing I wanted to start off is we talk about progression in artists a lot, especially in hip hop itself. But Gambino had I'll put it this way. I don't want to say a 180, but more so a 90. So like at the very beginning of his career, he had that very cringe music, super cringe, very shock factor-esque at times. And then around 2012, 2013, he started ironing out the kinks in his sound and his bars and everything like that. But then we have another U-turn at about 2016, and he decides, okay, I'm gonna make something completely different that I usually don't make. How do you feel about Gambino's career up until this point?
I to me, I think he's had one of the greatest musical progressions out of like any artist. I think whether you like him as an artist or not, or whether you like his rapping or not, whatever. I think the talent is truly undeniable. And I mean, like I said, he really went from very like cringy rap, which at the time, Gambino was like one of Gambino is my favorite artist. And at the time, like when I first was listening to him, I didn't like the Sick Boy stuff, but I absolutely loved like Cul-de-sac and Camp. And this was probably when I was like 15, 16, around that time. Um, or maybe even a little bit younger. And then Royalty came out, and that's when he really made an effort to dial back the shock value rap and the metaphor heavy rap. And that's when I really was like, okay, this man is really rapping now. And I think that was when he was really at his best because, or that's when he really like found his sound for real. Cause I listen to Cul-de-sac and Camp now, and there are songs on there that are still really good to this day. But there are also a lot of them that I'm like, I can't believe like someone agreed with this. Um, and then, you go into from Royalty, a lot more swag rap. It was way cooler. It sounded better. It was, he was rapping with Schoolboy Q, Absol, Bun B. Tina Fey was on there. Like Blake Griffin did the intro. It was just a crazy album or crazy mixtape. And then because the internet comes out, and to me, that is the greatest album rollout that I have seen in I don't know. And I don't know how long. And I want to say ever, but I can't really think of like everybody's album rollout. But off the top of my head, that's the greatest album rollout I've ever seen. Like just the visuals, the short film, the screen, the scripts, the screenplay, like all that stuff. The hidden tracks in the screenplay, a beautiful rollout. And then you get Stone Mountain Kauai, which was half, him rapping, showing that that was still him. That he kind of more royalty-esque, rapping over, all the Atlanta classics and Go DJ. And then you had that was a Stone Mountain side. Then you had the Kauai side where he was singing. And you had songs like Sober and the song with Jaden Smith. And that was the first time I really listened to Jaden Smith like that. And then he took a little break, and then he dropped Me and Your Mama, and that album came out, and it's just like that musical progression from a very cringy, very blatant Lil Wayne imitation to slowly finding his own sound and mixing, being able to rap and sing, to more swag rap and actually doing it very well. And then making, because of the internet, and then making Stone Mountain Kauai, and then making I can't remember what the album's called right now.
The date title one.
The Lord, me and shit, I didn't mean to flip. Awaken My Love. There we go. Men making Awaken My Love, like that is a insane album progression. And like if you told somebody, if you played somebody Awaken My Love, a Gambino fan at Awaken My Love in like 2010 and said Gambino made this album 6 years later, people would be like, that is insane. Like that just a crazy album to make for anybody, let alone for him.
So like one of my things about Gambino was how cringy he was at one point in time, but then he made because like royalty. So like from camp all the way to royalty, royalty kind of he was like, okay, I'm gonna be really serious with this. I'm going to stop being like I'm gonna start being intentionally corny and everything like that. And then I'm gonna actually use the skills that I have and not show the bad side of myself and the bad side of my music. But then when I got to when I really came back, like when I really respected Gambino was when he came out with Yafet Koto. I think that's how it's pronounced. Not sure, but um, that was like okay. It kind of all clicked for me. Okay, I like this dude now. I still think to this day that's his best rap. That's the best he's ever rapped. Like
That that
there's nothing on to me. There's nothing on royalty, BTI, or any other project that beats out the best rap performance other than that song. Like I feel like that is
mm,
like if I could describe his career up until that point, like with one song, that's it. I love this song so much.
I
BCI,
can agree with that. And it's only really because I feel like that little era in between um that era in between BTI and Stone Mountain Kawhi or around that time where he was just like rapping, and he was wearing that little hat all the time. Like he did that, the grind of my whole life freestyle, the the
with
rap
one of
over
Breakfast
pound
Club.
cake. Yes, that rap over pound cake, like those were some of my favorite rap performances he has ever done. And I love a lot of things this man has done. And I truly do think Yapakoto is very easily a top three Gambino rap performance.
Like I think the best way you could describe Gambino, like with the whole rap and singing thing, is like Telegraph Ave, um, Earn as well. Uh, Also, side note, Life the Biggest Troll is an incredible outro. Like, there's so much, there's so much. Like, I think Gambino. I will say this. I was wrong about this before. I am a little bit harsh on Gambino because I don't think I think his lows are low, but at the same time, his career reaches all spectrums to me. He has stuff that I don't like at all. He has stuff I think is just okay. He has stuff I think is really good. He has stuff I think is great, and he has stuff that I think is incredible. Um, he really one of those artists that really checks off a lot of boxes for me in terms of just like catalog and overall career. Like he's been his career his catalog is everywhere, not in a bad way though.
Yeah, and I understand that musically or really in like any artistic form, when you listen to anybody, um, if you don't like the stuff at the beginning, it's really going to be hard for you to be objective with the stuff that comes, whether it's something you may actually like or not. And I understand that Gambino's earlier stuff was very, very off putting, um, especially
But
looking back on it
yeah,
now as an adult.
everybody
And it's kind of this, and for me, I think that's the same reason, like, some people still don't be wanting to give Tyler credit because of just the stuff that he was rapping about at the time. Like even though he's nowhere close to that now, a lot of people still won't listen to Tyler or give Tyler the credit that he deserves because he used to rap so
Yeah,
derogatorily.
but the problem is that number one, when we think about the blog era, these people were teenagers. Number one, which I'm not saying I'm not excusing this stuff, but and I'm not going to say they were very early in their careers as well. And everybody has this stage of maturity that they need to reach. But number two, every person is not uncommon to imitate the worst versions of the artists that influence you. Not necessarily even the worst versions, but doing a poor imitation of the artists that influence you. It's what it happens all the time. It's not exclusive to Gambino. It's not exclusive to Tyler. It's not exclusive to Kendrick. It's not exclusive to Cole. It happens all the time. And eventually, if you're serious about your career, you grow out of it. Like we've seen them grow out of it. So like I don't hold them to it that much. Like it's the beginning of their career. If people have to figure stuff out. One thing that's why I also like changed my mind on like slow starts in music because not everybody has to find their own lane and navigate and like that. If one thing don't work, you can reinvent yourself and try something else. Like you're not bound to you don't have to stick with a certain thing. You can change your mind. And that's one thing, like, and even then, a lot of adjustments that you need are just small. Like, and like the biggest thing about his music was, okay, he has to cut out the cringe factor by a lot. The sound itself was there, but just the bars, it would just turn me off. But like he worked around it, so it's no issue to me. Um, last thing, Gambino has done what a lot of people wish they could do is to have two successful lanes of his career. He's a successful artist, but also he has one of the most he has a very critically acclaimed show that most people love. And if he were to retire today and stop doing stuff today, he has a really good career.
I
Like a
will
really
I
good
will
one.
I will say my hot take about Gambino. I've tweeted this before, and I've kind of been saying this for a while. The only person who I think is anywhere close to as talented as Gambino is Jamie Foxx. And Gambino is a critically acclaimed actor, a critically acclaimed writer, a critically acclaimed artist, whether that is through rapping or singing. He produced a show, like a critically acclaimed show, like the stuff with 30 Rock, the stuff with Community, a comedian, like with the weirdo stand up and all the stuff that he was doing from that era. Like, and all the stuff that he basically left, like he left on his terms. Like it wasn't nothing where he was like, they like removed him. He just stopped doing things because he's like, all right, well, I'm just going to move on to the next thing. And that's just what he was doing. That's what he just kept doing. So I truly think like his talent is undeniable. And the amount of being able to be successful in that many things is something you very rarely, if ever, see in your lifetime.
I'm afraid I'm gonna have to sit on that one, but I don't think it's an insane take at all because we have because the thing is like I'll say this like with Tyler did it, but Florida Squad wasn't something that I think Florida Squad was just funny. Like it wasn't something that I considered okay. This is a show that everybody gonna remember for years to come, and they gonna want more of it over and over. Like Lord Squad was one of those things where okay, like yes, this was funny when I was a kid, or like yes, this had memorable moments, but it's not like Atlanta. Like Atlanta is like a perfect. Atlanta is a really good. I'm not gonna say satire, but because I don't think it's the word for it, but it is a very realistic view, but yet comedic at the same time. But yet you can. I won't even. It's definitely not comedy though. Atlanta gives you multiple things, and I think Gambino did that really well. Even though not this past season, but the season before that one was kind of odd. I think it's an overall really good show, and it gives a mix of everything. Like he has the ability to tap into multiple pockets, and I think it shows that. I think it's the perfect way to describe his entire career.
Atlanta is one of the first black shows that we got in the modern era that was allowed to be itself and be successful and finish. Like we had an era like in the like from the 80s to 90s to maybe mid 2000s where a lot of black shows were thriving at a certain point and then it kind of stopped. And then we didn't really get anything for a really long time. And like the beginning, especially the beginning of Atlanta, was really an era. Like I remember everyone talking about that jail episode and all that because that was just one of the first black shows that we got that was able to really be itself. And then like the fact that he was able to finish because so many things end up getting canceled is crazy. He got to end it on his own terms, and that's just what he's written. That's what his career has been about: is ending things on his own terms.
I think that I could not. I think that is definitely the definition of his career, and I think there's nothing more you could say perfectly to describe his career than that. But we gonna end right there. Donovan, I appreciate you coming on again. Um, to my followers and subscribers, I'm gonna try to get more stuff out more often to y'all because of just consistency, everything like that. I feel like y'all deserve that consistency every 1 to 2 weeks that there's something new coming out. But thank you for tuning into another episode of the Groove Files. We out.
Yes, sir.